Jeremy David Acton, he is the leader of the Dagga Party. This party has always been calling for the legalization of Dagga use. Good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for coming through. And I suppose this, of course, is a victory for your party.
Yes, I think it is. And it's also a victory for every person out there who's a member of our culture in terms of peace of mind, and perhaps people will be able to work within the framework of the concept of privacy, to still exchange and to gift in compassion and to gather in places where it is still a private event, where a collective private experience of cannabis may continue. You see, it's not just at home. If I carry my cannabis into a private space, which is a collective experience, then we would consume cannabis there, and just as people drink beer together.
Which is going to make it very difficult, I suppose, Jeremy, because you may have a private function at a public place, isn't it?
Yeah, well, in a public place would be questionable. There would have to be licenses for the gathering, etc., etc. But ultimately, we would like to have equality with cigarettes and alcohol users in the way we may use and gather in spaces. And if my comrade, a citizen, is smoking cigarettes and my other comrade citizen is drinking a beer, then I would like to also be with them while we cheer on our rugby team, for example, in the same social environment. And that may still be something that happens later through the lobbying that now will take place towards the new legislation.
Yeah, but do you think today's ruling sort of addressed your concerns that you would want to see the rights given to those who consume alcohol and who take tobacco the same as those who take cannabis?
Yes, I think so, because alcohol and tobacco are scientifically proven to be more damaging to society and to the individual's health than cannabis. So we should not be having more strict rules for cannabis. Yes, we have to learn how to accept this into society, but cannabis laws cannot be stricter than alcohol and tobacco laws. No under 18 licensed premises, selling with a license perhaps in the future.
Why not?
Well, cannabis is a different culture. There's a beer culture, there's a tobacco culture, there's a vape culture in nicotine. We feel that cannabis people... But
it's a culture itself as well, isn't it?
It is a culture itself, and it's a multicultural culture in terms of all the cultural groups of South Africa and the historical backgrounds that we have in our country all know this plant, and it's a unifying tree amongst the people, actually. Yes.
But are you perhaps worried with what the Deputy Chief Justice had to say regarding the fact that Parliament will have to determine the amount of Dagga that would be considered to be not sufficient for personal use? Are you not worried because the police services and law enforcement agencies would still have to use their prerogative to determine that factor?
Well, private use also includes private medical use, not just so-called narcotic use. And when you want to make full extract cannabis oil from the plants by extraction with solvent in order to treat cancer and to consume less material for the same medical benefit, you need to actually have a large number of plants, and you need to carry on your person a large number of parcels of cannabis in order to make a small amount of cannabis oil. And cannabis oil needs to be consumed in large amounts for cancer, particularly. So,
but do you see problems with that specifically
I think ultimately it might go to court because the police think that it's too much. But I think that if average person's garden full of cannabis is not too much, and I think that carrying 5 kilograms on your person is not too much, because you may need that amount for oil.
So are you going to start working on that going forward now,
yes,
in order to persuade Parliament?
Yes, well, I'm first going to work on it at home by planting my cannabis when I get home.
Okay.
And
so you don't have as it is now?
At the moment, it's not quite in the season, and I've been very busy fighting this matter.
Okay.
So the gardening hasn't happened yet.
Okay, but you've had before?
Yes.
Okay.
And then But we are not just going to lobby this government. This government has always sold out on the cannabis issue. It has always prosecuted. It took the apartheid police and dogs and helicopters and turned it onto its own growers who grew cannabis to support the struggle against apartheid. They sold out. So the Dagga Party of South Africa is calling to the young people of South Africa, this is your future, and if we, the culture, are going to sign our own legislation, then we need the young people to mobilize so that the Dagga Party may field candidates towards Parliament and we write our own legislation.
All right. No, thank you so much for coming through. If my memory serves me well, with the previous elections, your party was not registered. Are you registered?
We are nationally registered, but we didn't manage to raise the exorbitant deposit that is required to participate. We're expecting to have to crowdsource very fast in order to move to Parliament after this judgment.
All right, Jeremy, thank you so much for coming through. Many thanks to Jeremy David Acton. He's the leader of the Dagga Party, of course, giving their reaction to the Constitutional Court ruling that happened earlier today.